conditions, it's in stage 3 and 4. But if they are identified earlier, they will for sure live a life. Madam Speaker, in closing, the issue of funding, and I want to thank Honorable Kuria Kimani for that idea we had. The issue of funding community health workers can be easily dealt with if we invest well in level 1 and in community health workers themselves. That will lessen the frequency of higher tertiary care. Now, the money saved from those reduced frequency can be plowed back into the community health workers. So those who are saying that it is expensive to have community health workers salaried, they are misinformed. In fact, if we invest in community health workers, we are going to cut the cost of healthcare. Should be earmarked for paying them. There's no health outcomes that will come with volunteers, because these people also have their needs. Children going to school, they have their food has to be put on the table. They have needs like anybody else. But more importantly, uniquely, these cards are placed in our community, and they relate to the people in the village. That's why they are 24/7. Somebody who is doing 24/7, you cannot say you are giving 2,000 or 5,000. These people have to be salaried good in order to achieve what we want to achieve in health. Honorable Speaker, much was discussed, and I want to thank my chair for health, Dr. Pokose, who stayed in throughout, Dr. Honorable Kimani, and Honorable Nyikal, who seconded this motion with passion and agreed that when he retires, he's also going to be a community health worker in Seme. I'll follow to do the same. All of us will end up in a community so that we can discharge this service. With those few remarks, I, Martin Peters, Owino Ward Chief Nyamrero number 1, I want to beg to reply. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Martin Peter Owino. Honorable members, we will not put the question at this moment. This will be done in another sitting, as will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, consideration of the mediated version of the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022.
Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 15th October 2024. Honorable Speaker, in considering the clauses of the Sugar Bill 2022 under mediation, the committee had to address the following issues.
Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, please move the motion as per the order paper up to the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, pursuant to the provisions of Article 113, subsection 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 150, subsection 3, this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 16th October 2024, and approves the mediation version of the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022. Honorable Speaker, in considering the clauses of the Sugar Bill 2022 under mediation, the committee had to address the following issues. 1, whether to go the zoning way as proposed by the Senate or the regional catchment area way as proposed by the National Assembly. 2, whether to increase the membership of the Kenya Sugar Board to 14 by adding a member from the least represented gender and a representative of persons living with disability and youth. 3, the nominating body for the representative of universities in the board of directors of the Sugar Research Institute. 4, the institution that will be in charge of the percentage of sugar development levy allocated for infrastructure development and maintenance. 5, whether imported industrial sugar should be exempted from payment of sugar development levy. 6, whether growers should be represented in the board of directors of private milling companies. And 7, whether to adopt the sugarcane zones proposed by the Senate or sugarcane catchment areas proposed by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the committee deliberated and resolved the above issues as follows. On 1, whether to go the zoning way as proposed by the Senate or the regional catchment areas way as proposed by the National Assembly, the committee resolved to adopt the National Assembly's position of putting in place regional catchment areas which will be important in cane management. On the issue number 2, whether to increase the membership of the Sugar Board, Kenya Sugar Board to 14 by adding a member from the least represented gender and a representative of persons living with disability or youth, the committee resolved to retain the membership of the board at 12 and provided that the appointing authority shall ensure that there is adherence to the 2/3 gender rule and representation of the youth and persons living with disabilities in the board insofar as the practical. On item number 3, Honorable Speaker, the nominating body for the representative of universities in the board of directors of the Sugar Research Institute. Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that universities in Kenya do not have an apex body to nominate the representative. The responsibility to nominate a representative of universities to the board was therefore placed to the cabinet secretary, who will ensure that the nominee has knowledge and experience in agricultural research in the sugarcane field. Honorable Speaker, item number 4, the institution that will be in charge of the percentage of allocated for infrastructure development and maintenance, managed by the Kenya Sugar Board and shared by the sugarcane producing regions on pro rata basis. This is because Clause 43 of the bill provides that audited accounts of the board shall be submitted to the National Assembly and Senate, hence Parliament will have the oversight use of the fund. On item number 5, Madam Honorable Speaker, on whether imported industrial sugar should be exempted from payment of sugar development levy. This proposal was rejected, Madam Speaker, by the committee on the basis that there was no justification to exempt imported industrial sugar from paying the sugar development levy, while all other imported sugars is subject to the levy. Honorable Speaker, on whether growers should be represented in the board of directors of private milling companies, this proposal was too rejected by the committee, since it is illegal to compel private companies to have farmer representatives in their boards. Private companies are private with intentions of making profit, hence should be managed privately. There is also a possible conflict of interest having a farmer sitting in the board of company, as they can easily compromise in favor of the companies at the expense of farmers. The practice of having farmer representatives in boards of private companies was best left as a practice and custom at the discretion of millers, and not compelling legal provisions, as that would contravene Companies Act 2015. Honorable Speaker, on item number 4, on whether to adopt the sugar zones proposed by the Senate or sugar catchment areas proposed by the National Assembly, the committee, Honorable Speaker, adopted the new schedule proposed by the Senate and named it as sugarcane catchment areas instead of sugarcane zones. The regions will be used for purpose of elections and cane management in line with the recommendations of the Sugar Task Force report. Further, Honorable Speaker, sugarcane catchment areas will bring sanity in the sugar industry, as it will bring to an end the cane poaching, which has resulted in losses for millers. This will encourage investments in the sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Mediation Committee on the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022, considered the 7 clauses of the bill under mediation and came up with an agreed version of the bill. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the bill, the order paper today, the entire detailed agreed version of the bill is attached on the order paper. Putting into consideration, Honorable Speaker, the principles as guided by my highlights. The Sugar Act will play, Honorable Speaker, as a summary, will play a crucial role in bringing sanity, Honorable Speaker, to the sugar industry and make those who would want to invest into the sector to have a benefit of their investment. Honorable Speaker, I wish to salute and acknowledge and appreciate the office of the speakers and clerks of both houses of parliament for the logistical and technical support accorded to it in the execution of its mandate. That's our committee, Honorable Speaker. And finally, I wish to express my appreciation of the committee and the committee secretariat for their patience, sacrifice, endurance, and commitment to the assignment that enabled committee to complete the task within the stipulated time period. Honorable Speaker, mediation committee has a latitude, 30 days only. And if you extend beyond 30 days, it has consequences. And Honorable Speaker, I wish on the onset to really acknowledge my colleagues, led by the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Dr. Mutunga. I want to appreciate you and thank you for your time and input. I wish to appreciate the Honorable Justice Kemei, the Honorable Nabina Buera, the Honorable John Makali, the Honorable Peter Masara, and the Honorable Walter Wino, who accompanied me, and we were enjoined into that committee. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to thank our colleagues in the Senate that they equally took time, led by the chairperson of Agriculture, the Honorable Murango, and the entire team, that they took a lot of their time, input, ended up even amending and sitting down to propose on how to amend, on how to write the clauses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to move and request the Honorable Dr. John Mutunga, the MP, to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to second the adoption of the mandated version of the sugar bill, which has taken quite a bit of time to be discussed across the country. Honorable Speaker, this bill is a derivative of a very intensive process of consultation. Consultation occurred at 3 levels. Honorable Speaker, the first level was the generation of the report of the task force. There was a sugar task force report, which did its work and presented a report to the immediate former president of the Republic. And this report was adopted, and a task force accosted, rather, enabled to implement this report. Honorable Speaker, the second level of consultation is when we went round to every factory, most of the growing areas, and consulted with the farmers and the other stakeholders, the leaders, the politicians, and the millers, and everyone else, to hear their views on what kind of a legislation they would like to have in order to have the industry better managed. And this happened and brought in a lot of information that has been useful. Honorable Speaker, the land level of consultation was the conference, the sugar conference that was held in Kakamega. And at this conference, Honorable Speaker, the report on task force was thoroughly examined, and quite a bit of that report informed the bill as it is now. Honorable Speaker, the mediated version of the bill has been immensely informed by that background, as well as the individuals who come from the sugar growing areas, the honorable members who come from the sugar growing areas, as well as the version of the sugar, the bill itself. There are key aspects of this bill that are worth mentioning, Honorable Speaker, even as I second. The first one is the fact that this bill ensures that the sugar industry is going to be revitalized, ensures that the farmers have got some resources for cane development, ensures that the sugar research and the training institute is going to be revitalized and expunged from the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, and given some resources from the Sugar Development Levy. This money will enable the institute to move on and do the research on sugar. Honourable Speaker, the other key attribute of this particular legislation is the fact that the money for from the sugar development levy has been very carefully shared out, such that the money for support to the board has been given out as 15%. We have some money for the research itself, for the cane development itself, and some money for development of the roads in the areas where sugarcane is grown. Honourable Speaker, this was a contentious issue that took the Senate and the National Assembly to mediate. And the mediated version of this particular aspect is such that we agreed that this money is domiciled at the Kenya Sugar Board and utilized in the counties where sugarcane is being produced in a prorated manner based on the levels of contribution from the various localities or the various regions where sugar is produced, so that we may be able to attend to the key needs of infrastructural improvement. And we call it infrastructural specifically, Honourable Speaker, because we would like the roads to be done and the bridges to be done as well, because sometimes if we just leave it as road, some of the other infrastructures may not benefit. Honourable Speaker, the final thing I would like to say as I support is that this bill comes out to basically harness the entire industry. It's looking at the industry from the pre-production all the way to the table. It's looking at how we can curb importation of sugar, how we can produce enough sugar for this country, and even sell in the region. It has taken all aspects into consideration, and therefore we believe we have mediated a very good legislation for this country. Honourable Speaker, I do second.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honourable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Article 1132 of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 16th October 2024, and approves the mediated version of the Sugar Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2022. I'll give a few members. I'll start with the Honorable Onyango Oyo, member for Muhoroni.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to share this very interesting development with my colleagues. As all of you are aware, my constituency, which is the elephant in the house, that there is no zoning, because they grow sugarcane with their own efforts. And it's only imperative that when it comes to time of harvesting, they should be given freedom to sell to the best miller, who has the capacity to help them in harvesting, in transporting the cane to the mill and paying them in good time. We have had serious problems with certain millers who want to restrict. They want to restrict the farmers in my constituency. And they're capitalizing on the fact that the government millers are semi-dysfunctional. And they want to capitalize on the plight of the farmers because of dysfunctioning of the factories, and they offer themselves as the only people who have solution, and they want to restrict the farmers to supplying sugarcane to them. When they have no capacity, there's very little they do to help the farmers develop. They cannot do the roads. There is anything they're doing that adds value to the farmers. So this thing called zoning is something that my farmers really detest. I have seen the board and the committee, the mediation committee, has tried to deal with it, but there are lots of circumlocutions. My friend told me that a rose by a name is called a rose. I have seen a lot of circumlocution. We want this thing to be addressed very well, so that farmers have something called sokohuru. A farmer can sell his ready, unless, like it has been addressed here, there is evidence that the farmer took loan from a miller to develop his farm, got some fertilizers. The miller had something he had deposited when the need was taking place. But when a miller, like when a farmer, like the farmers in my constituency, has developed the plant or garden for him by himself, he should be given permission to sell to whoever he wants. And any circumlocution that wants to curtail the freedom of a farmer is not very good for us, and I've seen semblance of it in this report.
What is out of order, Honorable Chairman? You know when you show your hand up, or I can't see your card, but I can see your hand is up. Chair, what is out of order?
It's not out of information.
You want to give, you have a point of information?
Information. Does he want to be informed?
No. I would like to find out from him whether he wants to be informed.
Okay.
Do you want to be informed by the chair? You would like you? Okay. Proceed, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I would like to refer the Honourable Member to the mandated version of the bill. Honourable Speaker, that was one of the contentious issues. We could not possibly lock farmers to specific factories. We refused. That is not there. What you have done is a minimum of 3 factories in a catchment area. That is what the bill says. So if all the 3 fail, then there's a serious problem in the entire industry. Honourable Speaker, the other thing we introduced is that these catchment areas are also considered as electoral colleges. So elections will be done within the catchment area in terms of representation in the board. Again, Honourable Speaker, we also agreed that the representation within an electoral area is going to be rotational by county. So that if it is Kisumu produces a representative this season, the next season is somebody comes from Kericho, the other season somebody comes from another county, as long as they're in the same area, so that we can also introduce equity. So that issue has been completely, thoroughly discussed and dealt out with.
Honorable Koyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The second issue I wanted to speak to is about the reconstitution of Sugar Board. During the days of the Sugar Board, Red Sugar Board was very active. The farmers were doing very good business, and they were really harnessing their plants and sugarcane business. But when the Sugar Board was killed, and an anonymous body called AFA came that has very little interest in what the farmers, the sugarcane farmers are doing, we have really felt the brunt. So I will support this, and I think the body, the amendment committee, has done very well. They have introduced the Sugar Board as per our aspiration, and they have spelled out the zones for this purpose, which initially I was not happy about, but I've seen the rotational basis. I think this will bring in add some value. Then I would like to talk about the 50% levy. You know, during the Sugar Board, there were monies that were deducted for the purpose of improving infrastructural development in various sugar catchment areas. A lot of monies were collected, but immediately with the disbandment of Sugar Board, these monies were rerouted to the county governments in form of cess. I don't know what happens in other, because I don't come from Nandi, they were my neighbors. But in Kisumu, all the monies that have been invested, that accrue from this deduction, have not benefited the farmer. We don't even know how much it is, what it's doing, who is keeping it, and for what purpose. So we hope that this identification, now that we have identity, we know the money is going to go to Sugar Board, that it will be made use of for the benefit of the farmer. But our fear is that when Sugar Board had the money before, they assisted companies to buy road-making equipment. A serious company in my constituency.
There's a point of order from the Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe.
Yes.
It's not a point of order, it's just to inform my very good friend. We walked the journey together, if he can allow me to inform him.
Do you want to be informed? You are being over-informed.
Thank you. I think it's just a matter of correction. He has mentioned that the percentage allowed, now that we are on public media, they might take it as a true fact. It's not 50%, it's 15% of SDL.
So you only have 2 minutes remaining, but honorable members, remember, you are debating the mediated version.
Yes.
So if you are not conversant with the mediated version, you may find yourself taking us back to the initial bill. You have 2 minutes to conclude, Honorable Koyo.
I've closed in on just 3 issues on the mediation version. So thank you, Madam Speaker. I've zeroed in on just 3 issues. I said the 15%, it was not 50%. I said the 15%, initially when it was held by Sugar Board, it was gave consideration to the industries to help develop a road network for sugarcane, for purpose of delivering sugarcane, developing and delivering sugarcane harvest. But many of these equipment that were bought never benefited the workers. We hope this time they will be serious, and we will ensure that this serves the interest of the farmers. Otherwise, I want to support the mediation bill as constituted by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Koyo. The Honorable Julius Meli, member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill, and I want to laud the sponsor of the bill, Honorable Wangwe, and the chair of the committee, Honorable member for Tigania West. Honorable Speaker, this is a bill that we've really waited for long as representative of farmers in the sugar growing areas, and more importantly as farmers, and at the same time as the sugar industry in general. Honorable Speaker, this bill has tried to actually bring sanity in the sector, and I want to say that as the standing orders allow, I shall be proposing a few amendments to it, Honorable Wangwe, especially on the issue of, it is mediated version. It's mediated version. So you can't Chair. Yes, I'm guided, Madam Speaker. I'm guided. I'm guided on that.
You cannot do it at this time.
I'm guided on that.
But I hope you're not going to engage the chair, education. Yes. You already said that
he's out of order. I'm saying,
he's withdrawn.
What is out of order?
Is it in order for Honorable Meli, a senior member of this House and a ranking member, to indicate that he is proposing amendment on a mediated version of the bill? I think he's completely out of order. And he had started by saying he's supporting
David
the bill.
Kiplangat, member for Soy. I was listening very keenly to the chair, education, and I know that he has a lot of experience, and he has no intention of bringing amendments. He already made comments on that subject, and now we move on.
Yes. It is Honorable David who actually doesn't understand the issues at play. He's excited on the issue. Honorable Speaker, there are a number of issues which I want to put to the attention of members. One is the issue of the infrastructure fund. It is in the considered opinion of farmers and all the stakeholders that the 15%, and I know this levy is actually meant to support sugar growing. When you look at 15%, it has actually been put to the use for infrastructure alone. And I would request that maybe the mover will actually inform me and inform the country how much does it go to cane development, what percentage goes to the cane development, what percentage goes to other areas within the sugar growing, so that you actually give us the whole percentum from 100, how it is being distributed through. Honorable Speaker, we also have this issue of the miller, contracting a miller outside the region to come and carry the crop outside that particular miller's area or catchment area. It is quite contentious, Madam Speaker, because another miller cannot contract another miller. In respect, in where we grow cane, there are certain millers or mills that have actually gone under. A good example is Miwani. Miwani can't contract maybe an existing company to take up its crop or a farmer's crop within that particular region. It could be proper if a miller has gone under, the farmers be contracted afresh. And for those farmers who are not contracted afresh, let them be allowed to move to those areas that they can be able to sell their crop. Madam Speaker, the issue of catchment area. I come from a county that grows sugar, and I've been convinced some extent by the mover, that it is only in my county where it is split into two, the northern part of the county and the southern part of the county, where I come from. I don't know if this will really disenfranchise the farmers in that particular region, because out of all the catchment areas, it is only this county of all the sugar growing regions that has been split into two. I don't know what is the wisdom that informed that this one county be split into two, Madam Speaker. 3, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Nabi Nabwera.
I would like to draw.
What is out of order?
It's a point of information.
I would like to, I'll have to find out from the chairman. Would you like to be informed?
To be informed because he was a member of the mediation committee.
Okay, you may proceed.
It is not true that it's only Nandi that's split into, even Kakamega. The Mumias part of Kakamega is in a different catchment area, while the other part of Kakamega is in a different catchment area.
Chair, Honorable Meli. Honorable members, I would like to discourage so many points of information. Yeah, Chair. Because you already have been informed by the Honorable Nabi Nabwera.
Yes, I've adequately been informed.
Do you still want to be informed by the member for Soy?
On what issue? What
You
is the
can choose not to be informed.
What is the information?
What is out of order, member for Soy? The mic to him,
Yeah.
to David Kiplangat.
I'm trying to follow my senior in this house. He started by saying he's supporting the mediated bill. But listening to his debate, he is actually deviating and to the negative. So he needs to state clearly what position he is doing. If he is supporting the motion, the bill, let him now argue in supporting the bill.
Honorable Kiplagat, I'm inclined to give protection to the Honorable Meli. Well, if he's not satisfied, he can still raise other amendments in 6 months.
Yes.
So we will let him debate. This is a house of debate, and there is a lot of freedom here. So please just finalize. You have about 2 minutes now.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I want you to guide the young legislator that this is a house of debate. And this is a house where we ventilate on issues affecting our representatives. It is not a house where we just deposit legislative proposals and then we pass it anonymously without critique. It is in order, Madam Speaker, to inform the member that any issue on this bill shall be brought to this house for amendment after 6 months, and it is proper. And I want to guide the honorable member for Soy on that. Madam Speaker, on the issue of catchment, I just want to discuss this more specifically on zoning. I want to thank the committee that the word zoning is not there. But there are some contentious issues on catchment where the farmer is restricted. The farmer is restricted, or the grower is restricted to particular mills. And I want to agree with Honorable Koyo. In this particular case, the miller should be free, the farmer should be free completely, without any trappings or conditions, that he should be allowed to take his crop to anywhere. And I want to give examples of other crops like tea, coffee, and the rest. Madam Speaker, a rose by any other name is still a rose. And I would be proposing, because this is a mediated fashion, that this issue of catchment be very clear, especially on the farmer's responsibility or the grower's responsibility, and more importantly, what the miller is supposed to do. In my area, most of my farmers are not contracted farmers, like Muhoroni. Majority of the contracted farmers are in other zones. And they are free to do what they want to do with their crop. So in this case, Madam Speaker, I am of the opinion that, yes, the document is a fair copy than the previous one debated by the Senate. But on that particular issue, we shall be proposing after the stipulated time some of the amendments. I thank you and I support.
Thank you, Honorable Meli. The Honorable Kuria Kimani, member for Molo. Thank you. Then we go to the Honorable Jared Okello, member for Nyando.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is an issue or a bill that has taken inordinately too long. The bill stems from a task force that was established in the former regime, and our former colleague, Honorable Wamunyinyi, in the last regime. Yes. Honorable Wamunyinyi brought it forth. It died with that regime and was graciously resurrected by my brother, Honorable Wangwe. As a committee where I sit, the Committee of Agriculture, chaired by my very good friend, Dr. Mutunga, we have delved into this matter over and over. The matter went to the Senate. It came back. We did what we ought to have, and now again, the mediated version is right here with us. Honorable Speaker, I come from a sugar growing area, just like my brother Honorable Koyo and Honorable Meli. We have really suffered. Many people have had to uproot sugarcane from their farms, just because of all the pitfalls that exist within this particular industry. We do acknowledge the problems that the government-owned sugar mills have gone through. Some of the employees plugged into these companies have had to wait for over 3 years to be paid salaries, Madam Speaker. And therefore, and farmers have had to wait for too long to have their monies channeled to them. And the government has also intervened quite a lot, both the former and current regimes, by expending some monies to cushion farmers and additionally also help with the employees. But these have been patch-up measures, Madam Speaker, and therefore we believe that the bill, as mediated, will address many pitfalls that have existed within the sugar industry for way too long. Madam Speaker, it has been so decided by the mediation team that we come up with catchment areas so that companies do not just come up without being put at a particular catchment. And it has all been decided that not more than 3 companies can exist within a catchment, Madam Speaker. This is also trying to control the usage of sugarcane. Otherwise, we may overdo or create a lot of strife amongst companies, Madam Speaker. So it is 3 per catchment, and that is, to me, a very good approach. Now, the issue of representation at the board becomes very critical. And during elections of representatives, Madam Speaker, within the board, it is more serious than electoral units within us, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it has so been decided by the mediation team, which is something that I like very much, that whereas directors will be elected at the catchment areas, but again it becomes rotational, so that when you have a director from Kisumu, because if you subject Kisumu farmers and Nandi farmers, Nandi will lose because of our numbers, Madam Speaker. But then the subsequent election will then go to a different region and not Kisumu having more than its fair share, Madam Speaker. So I think that was a very good approach. Again, Madam Speaker, the monies that will be collected in terms of levies by the board, the sugar board, Madam Speaker, both from the local farmers and sugarcane that comes from outside Kenya, Madam Speaker, will be shared amongst certain bodies within this board, Madam Speaker. So we have created a training institute whose work will be to carry out research, because we are still stuck on sugarcane that takes 2 years to mature. Yet, the digital age has dictated that we have some that only take 9 months. So let us go for the 9 months, and that will be the work which will be carried out by the Sugar Research Institute, Madam Speaker. Roads within the sugar sector or these schemes are in dilapidated state, Madam Speaker. We had expected that when you have our county governments getting cess monies from farmers, supplying sugarcane to farmers, that the roads will be paved. But, Madam Speaker, it is the direct opposite. You move into these sugar companies and you cannot believe the condition of roads in these places, Madam Speaker. And therefore, in the wisdom of the committee and the mediated version, this money will be going straight under the oversight of members of parliament coming from the sugarcane regions, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I think just like we have played oversight role to KERA, which is doing a splendid work in our areas, this money, which will also be used to help improve roads within the sugarcane regions, will also address the issue of dilapidated infrastructure within these places, Madam Speaker. We have also put a lot of emphasis on sugar that has to be brought back to be imported into the country. Madam Speaker, sugarcane is the lowest hanging fruit for any crooked government to make money. And they do it at a disadvantage of our own sugar mills, Madam Speaker. We have seen cases where sugarcane, or rather sugar companies' warehouses are full. They have no market. Yet the government brings in tax-free sugar so that they can mop up their finances, either for political expediency during campaigns or for reasons that are beyond our knowledge. And this bill has put a lot of emphasis on the amount that has to be brought into the country only at a time when our country does not have enough for its local use, Madam Speaker. And I think this is a step up from where we have been before. Madam Speaker, our farmers, together with employees in these sugar companies, have suffered for way too long, and therefore we believe and hope that with all these changes that we intend to have, that they will at least for once enjoy, Madam Speaker. We have also proposed the inspectors who will be going around getting to know whether the sugarcane that we have is local or is imported, and if imported, what gazette notice informed the importation. So we are trying the much that we can, Madam Speaker, under the strenuous circumstances, to come up with purity in this business of sugar, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I want to support the mediated version, but this does not really close doors for improvements into the future, because some of the issues we have proposed are still going to be like a pilot. If the catchment idea will not be reflective of the wishes of the people, then in 6 months we will come back here and make amendments where necessary. I thank you for the opportunity, Madam Speaker, and I support the mediated version.
Thank you, Member for Nyando. The Honorable Nabwera Nabi, Member for Lugari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the onset, I want to support the mediated version of the bill. And Madam Speaker, I would like to declare that I had the honest task of serving as the task force secretary, joint secretary, that went around this country. And the bill borrows largely from the the negotiated version by the stakeholders in the sugar industry. I would like to thank the members, our colleagues whom we were with in the mediation committee.
Excellency, the President would be able to attend and avail an opportunity for the National Assembly to cross-examine him. Mr. Speaker, sir, taking into account the circumstances that we find ourselves in, having also very keenly heard learned senior counsel speak, matters held are not matters to be taken lightly. On the same tone, Mr. Speaker, sir, matters held cannot be given timelines. There cannot be certainty that if an adjournment were to be given even for 1 week, then there is clarity and certainty that we'll be able to proceed on that assigned day. Mr. Speaker, sir, we would urge that we borrow practice that has accorded to other similar organs created by the Constitution. I have the courts of law in mind. Mr. Speaker, sir, because I earlier on submitted that Article 50 provides for an opportunity, provides for the right to fair hearing, and that fair hearing does not necessarily have to be oral, we have had practice in our Supreme Court where dealing with some of the most important decisions of our lifetimes, including decisions arising from presidential elections, have in all the elections that we have had parties file submissions and their documents, and that their advocates have had an opportunity to appear before the courts to highlight those